Yeah, there we go. What's going on, everybody? Up in here sweating like a dog. It's been real hot, but appreciating the change from the cold. But today I wanted to talk about soulmates in particular. I don't know what I did with it, but I wrote a book not too a while back actually, called Diary of a Soulmate, and it was a collection of poetry actually that I was inspired to write based on a relationship. It was a long distance relationship with somebody that affected my life in such a way that it causes you to make changes. And this was the first time I was consciously aware that this was somebody who was meant to be in my life. And situations weren't perfect, conditions weren't perfect, but the love was there. You know what I mean? It was, and it's one of those things where you feel like you've known a person before this life. Like you have history beyond the date that you were born. You know what I mean? Different times, different eras. Um, a lot of spiritual people will tell you they have dreams and visions of different times that they lived in and the people who were in it. And many of these times, these people come back around, whether it's unfinished business or it was just a rekindling, just like a magnetic pull to some to a certain person. People get the misconception that soulmates, when they hear that, when they first start out, that this is somebody you spend the rest of your life with, that there is no other soulmate besides that one. And then there's twin flames and karmics, and they got a whole list of names, but I didn't want to get into all that. I want to make it simple, just deal with soulmates. uh, Simply put, somebody who resonates with your soul. It's almost a reflection of you at that time. And I want you to think of them as messengers more so than anything else. So you have your DMs, you know what I'm saying? You get messages in your DMs, Facebook, whatever. Those are regular people that you meet every day, whatever, whatever. Then you get stuff in the mail, from the postal, which is almost personal up to your door. These are like close friends, associates, and like business partners and uh, people of that nature. But then you have soulmates, and I'll include twin flames in this. But this is the UPS, this is the FedEx. These are the people that knock on your door, and you got to sign because this is some sort of a contract. I want you to think of it as a contract that you and your person agreed to journey with in a lifetime. And these people will push your buttons, they will inspire you, they will piss you to fuck off, they will do everything that you need in order to grow at that time. uh from personal experience and all of this, it's caused me to mature in ways that I wouldn't have done on my own. I wouldn't have seen certain aspects of my shadow self, or that part that's deep inside that nobody sees, that yin realm. um and the way you conduct yourself in the conscious life. You know what I mean? These soul contracts you make prior to getting here, and when you meet, instant recognition almost all the time. But it doesn't always roll smooth. You know what I mean? I had a recent situation with what I believe the feeling was a very soulmate-ish kind. Like, it was weird because when the first time we were introduced, neither one of us said anything. It was like, yo, this is so so, this is so so, and we kind of just like went on our um about our business, or so it seemed. But it was almost like a silent recognition, and I've never experienced that before. And it was, to tell you the truth, it brought back memories of many lives past. I've had dreams of being in assemblies, congregations, somewhere like in Atlantis or something like that. And I know I've been here for that long, at least. And the vibe there is one mind. It's telepathic. You don't have to say anything. It's just like everybody knows what everybody's got going on, as far as their thoughts and how they communicate. And it's through images and symbols and things of that nature. It was very spiritual back then. It wasn't as condensed as it is now. And that's how this particular one popped up. And it's been like that. And the challenge for me was to get past that, because a lot of times we want a validation of somebody's interest. Let's just say that, you know what I mean? Some kind of gesture, or just something you can see physically manifest. You know what I mean? It's one thing to say you like someone, there's another thing to show them. You know what I mean? And it still applies. But for this one, my lesson was the knowing. I just wanted to wait for that bike to pass real quick. But the knowing that there's something there, and that sometimes the best things are unsaid. Just a knowing, and you have to get past that human aspect of presents on birthdays and gift cards and beautiful love letters and all that other, you know what I mean, going out on dates and stuff like that. It's not always like that. And what that did was to show me more of my intuitive nature. And the thing about it was I resisted it for a little bit, that I dove into it, and I came back to it because of the amount of dreams I was having about this particular person. I was meeting the family. It was then there was the intimate dreams, and it was very vivid, and it felt very real. And it challenged my faith. And these are the things that these soulmates bring out of you. It's not the average relationship. These people are going to challenge you in certain areas or inspire you. I'd rather say inspire you, because at the end of the day, I've had quite a few, and we've of course parted ways for different reasons. But at the end of the day, it brings you back to. I like to remind people about the feeling you first had when you met this person, the emotions that you had, because that's the genuine part of it. You know what I mean? It's an unconditional. It's a lesson in unconditional love, because you learn to let people be who they are, and you get that respect. And if you don't, then that's part of their lesson. But there's many different levels to it, depending on where you are in your path. And I say that to say, at the end of the day, forgiveness and being open to new things, and the most important is working on yourself and during the process, because you could say a million things about a million different people. You can be judgmental, but at the end of the day, you have to look at yourself in the mirror, and you have to say, well, there was a point where it's like, I'm looking at everything else, but I'm not looking at myself. You know what I mean? And I've always looked at myself, but a soulmate will have you look at yourself in a different way. You know what I mean? Are you being accountable? Are you being genuine? Are you being completely honest with yourself first, and then the persons and people that you're dealing with? This is an inward journey that expresses itself outward. So whatever you're going through in your outwardly physical life is a reflection of what you're going through in the internal realm. And I've noticed it and I have a lot of soulmates, my God, and they're not all female. I mean, you can have a male. These people could be your father, they could be your brother, they could be your second cousin. You know what I mean? Anybody. It's just that you've agreed to help each other grow in this lifetime, so that you can go to a higher level, to shed this false reality that we live in. The system of programming that's in place that has us thinking other than ourselves. And that's the beauty behind all that. And when you realize the beauty behind everything, it's very subtle, it's very silent. So you have to sit with yourself, you have to be quiet, you have to sit in those silent spaces. And that's hard for a lot of people. We like that white noise, that background noise, things to keep us distracted. But once you clear all the clutter out and get to the core, you start peeling back your layers. You start dealing with your family issues, your any other issues that you may have. Because it's all relative. If your financial life is fucked up, then your relationship is eventually going to get fucked up, and so on and so forth. So it's a holistic view that I'm talking about, as far as these relationships and how they trickle into everything, and working on the inner realm. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say about this subject. Yeah, absolutely. These people will also, they'll help you remember talents and gifts, or send you back in that direction where you may have just left something alone for a while. And really didn't consider it, but they'll kickstart that again inside of you, because I've always loved writing. I've always loved poetry and expressing myself in a artistic, manner, besides just drawing and painting. But that poetry was something I've been doing since I was a kid. First, my first real crush was this girl back in Paoli, and I remember, I would say what I had to say, but it didn't seem like the message was getting through. So I sat down one day and I wrote this poem. It didn't rhyme or anything like that. It was just an outpouring of what I was feeling at the time and how I viewed her and what I was feeling and going through myself. And um, Scared to Death is one of them, back in the day where you passing notes on a bus or whatnot. So I gave it to her and shook to death, y'all. I was shook to death because it was one of the first times I had done that, being that open, that honest with somebody. And it's that into what are they going to say? What are they going to think? You in there sweating. You know how it is when you was young. You know what I mean? What if you're going through it now? But I come to find out later, it brought tears to her eyes. Like, she really appreciated that gesture. And the book Diary of a Soulmate was pretty much the same dynamic. Like, I didn't plan on writing that book at all. That wasn't on the agenda of things to do. It was just after the relationship had fizzled and everybody had gone their separate ways, I had a collection of poetry because I used to write it almost every other day. I mean, that's not even half of what I used, that I wrote to this certain female. It was in my life at that time. So I took all the best ones and I took some of the art that I was drawing at that time, because like I said, it trickles into every part of your life. You'll see your relationships get better. Your finances will start to get better because you'll start to clear out the doubts and the insecurities and things of that nature. And lo and behold, a book, and it's the first book that I have published by a major publisher. I would say, it's not self-published, so you can get that on Barnes and Nobles. You can get that on Amazon. You can get it as an ebook, and regardless of what it does for me financially, it was an accomplishment, and it was also a milestone for me. You know what I mean? So I've already received the benefits of following through that process and putting that out there for other people to you know to dive into that. Never been there before, been there before, and just give you something a little bit extra. But the poetry and the artwork is out of this world. Still to me, you know what I mean, right now. But it'll be interesting to see what's coming next, being where I'm at now, and I want urge people to do the same. We're in this retrograde period. I mean, it's not just one, it's not two or three, it's like seven of these heavenly bodies circling that are in retrograde. And when you hear the word retrograde, you hear RE, which is rewrite, redo, reevaluate, reassess, revamp, reorganize. So um, this is a time, and reflect, because this is a time where I'm doing a lot of reflecting on the things I've done, the people I've been associated with in my life, and I've come to a very deep appreciation for these people, regardless of how I was treated, or one way or the other, or how things transpired for the better or the worse. I have a deep and fond sense of gratitude and appreciation for all the people who have played that role in my life, and I hope that I've done the same thing for these people as well. That they've learned something and found something better within themselves, and learned that forgiveness and that unconditional love first comes from self, and then it expands, and that's the light that's within. When they say shine your light, this is part of that light, is to put out that. So we got too much hate in this world right now. We have a lot of misunderstandings due to petty shit, sex, gender, belief systems, and these relationships have helped me see past all of that, because I don't really get into. We've all been in places that other people might not agree, or followed beliefs and carried on, or were raised in different ways that people might not agree with. You know what I mean? And that brings in a sense of judgment. But these experiences have helped me shed all that, so that when I see and I feel that energy again, I'm not looking at the person or the situation. I'm just looking at the energy of it. And then it's about experiencing what is meant to teach you. You know what I mean? And over time, these lessons turn into blessings. So it's not like you have to keep going through these perpetual cycles, and learning to let go and let people be who they are, and being who you are genuinely and honestly is the biggest gift that anybody can help you receive. But you have to take that onto yourself and make that choice to remain stagnant in a broken cycle that doesn't work, or to make the necessary changes within so that you can experience your life to the fullest, and live out your purpose. And that was part of my purpose at the time. I just didn't know what it was, you know what I mean? But now, uh, almost, let's see, that was 2010. So it's almost been about a 10-year journey of running into these different soulmates that have helped me elevate my own way of thinking, to outgrow certain beliefs, and shed old skins, and be renewed time and time again to be where I'm at right now to make this video. I couldn't speak like this 10 years ago. I didn't have the experience, and the experience is the most important part of it. And it's not something I wouldn't take it too personal, as far as like there's an agenda against you, or these are the things that cloud the issue. You know what I mean? It's a personal journey, but don't take it so personal. It's not like everything's out to get you or anything like that. It's just the universe's way of helping you see and remember who you really are at the end of the day. We've got egos, we have personalities, we've done this, we've done that, we've got this accomplishment, we've got that accomplishment. We act like this with these people over here, but then over there we act a certain way with these people over here. But at the end of the day, the genuine part of you is above and beyond all of that. And having a soulmate in your life is one of the greatest blessings, even after a storm, that you can have if you see it in the proper perspective. So I think I've ranted long enough. I'm not going to get too much farther into it. Got some stuff I want to do tonight. So I'm going to say peace and unconditional love to you. And that I hope that everything that you're going through right now, you're seeing is a part of your growth and not your detriment. And that if things aren't going right, that you're making the necessary changes in your life, and to be uh, forgiving of yourself first. Everything starts with yourself first. To be forgiving of yourself and understanding of other people's situations, and making sure that you're seeing things from both perspectives, and not being as selfish as you once were. We've all been there, or just naive or ignorant to the fact. All right. So, deuce. Have a good night. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.